Next on Inside ChampCar, the VIR Hot Shoe. Welcome to Inside ChampCar. Brian Bielanski here. Bill Strong's the funny-looking guy in the top right corner. And the guy next to both of us making the whole place look classier.
It's Mike Skeen. Oh.
No, it's not.
Just the other ginger guy.
Wyatt Foster joins us. Hello, Wyatt.
Good evening, guys. How you doing?
Hey, Wyatt. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. Look forward to it.
Brian's back from vacation, or as I like to say, assignment.
Yes. I am refreshed and ready to go, and I've been like the Energizer Bunny this week, Bill.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Just sending emails like crazy, giving me work.
I don't believe I did any of that.
Oh, wait, that might be somebody else.
That's a different guy. Wyatt's here with us. We start every show, Wyatt, the same way. And I'm not even going to let Bill diverge from the plan this time, because usually he does. Sometimes I do, but it's usually Bill. But anyway, we start every show the same way, and that is with a simple question. How did you get messed up in this crazy sport that we love?
You mean ChampCar or motor racing in general?
Motor racing in general. When you were a wee little lad and first discovered cars and racing.
I think some of my first memories as a kid was watching Michael Schumacher as in Formula One with my father in the couch, in our basement at like 2 years old, watching in that, famous early, it's been late 90s, something like that. And I was like, I always wanted to try that. And when I, hit about 8 years old, I started really jumping into go-karting and did pretty well out of it, right out of the gate. And I said, well, man, maybe I'll just keep going with this because it's about the only thing I think I'm good at. And it very rapidly snowballed into, what I've been doing for essentially the last 23 years continuously.
So, Bill, that was basically the how to say the hosts are old without saying the hosts are old.
I know. I thought about racing as a small child.
Michael Schumacher when he was 2 years old.
Like,
how I was
94?
when Michael... Yeah, I wasn't 2 years old in 94, Bill.
Yeah, I was 3 years old in 94.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, I had 2 kids already. Actually, my kids are way older than he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get to the racetrack? Was that was Dad part of that too, or did you find your way there?
Starting out, obviously, at 8 years old, it's pretty hard to cut enough lawns to be able to afford a go-kart. But
right.
You could try. But yeah, it was my father. My father has been a car guy his whole life, right?
Sure.
So I already had that inclination and that just enjoyment. I think like when I was early on in my childhood, I think, the cars he had was like an E30 M3, brand new. He had an NSX, he had a Toyota Supra, all the collector's cars. Of course, unfortunately, he sold all of them. So I don't have them now because I'd be doing great if I did. But yeah, he sold. But I spent a lot of time in that, like that. So he was definitely a car guy because he spied out all the classics of today, and he bought them new back in the day. Doesn't
that suck though? You're as a teenager, 13, 14, 15 years old. You're like, oh my God, this is going to be the best life ever. And they go and sell the cars.
Yeah. My dad flipped him. It's like 2 years, like I had an NSX, I flipped that in a year, and then got a Toyota Supra. I was like, I'll flip that a year later. Yeah. And you're like, it's like, well, if only you kept that in the E30 M3, I would be feeling really, really good. So he was just a car guy, and he wasn't a racer, but I said, I really want to try the competitive aspect of it. And I guess, young enough on, I convinced him to take me go-karting, and he said, all right, let's give it a shot. And we worked on that for, quite a few years. And then eventually I was hopping up into, junior formula stuff. I did a little bit of like motorcycle stuff early on, but my mother said, you need a roof and a roll cage before you kill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your mother's a nurse practitioner too, right?
Yes.
So she knows better.
He's like, no more of that, please. So went back to cars, and I haven't, really departed from that from, I don't know, since I was 17 to 32 now, so 15 years continuously in cars.
Now, I know Wyatt's our guest, but his father was extremely influential into how Champ Car Live got started and how helping us out on the technical side of it. Your dad was a big time TV producer, and he got us in contact with folks and who helped us out as well. And I want to say thanks to your family because that it really helped Paulie and I out.
Thank you.
A ton
appreciate that.
At what we were trying to start up in the early days. We had no clue what we were doing, but your dad said neither did we when we were doing Saturday Night Live.
Right.
Back in the early days. So it's like, wow, never even thought about that. Everything is just being developed as they went. So basically like we did. So you work at the I almost said the University of Virginia, at Virginia International Raceway. And you are the chief stud muffin, or as we like to call it, the chief driving instructor.
Yeah, so I work. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, and we have a 24-hour race coming up, and I'd like to talk to you about how how does one go about attacking VIR full course for those that have never been there, and even those that have been there and just want the little secret.
Yeah, that's the multi-million-dollar question for sure. That's but
he
yeah,
wants money, guys. He wants money.
that's what people pay me for. But yes, of course, it's this track. Obviously, I love it, and basically it's my home track. I make my living here because it's such a beautiful facility. Before you even touch the actual physical racetrack itself, just coming in here and the facilities, everyone, including myself, is just so beautiful. Stark, it just has that nice, the greenery.
Clean,
if I go,
green, every building we go into is nice. Yes.
Yeah, in 2 weeks I'm going to Coda, and I drive around Coda, and you're like, oh man, I miss the green. It's just asphalt and
paint.
red and paint. Yeah. But so this track, being it's natural, it's into the actual, natural topography. It's basically sprawled over 3 separate rolling hills because it's a long and narrow track. You have a couple 100 feet of elevation change, and it just makes it so much fun to drive with a lot of technical bits that go beyond what a 2D map will actually show you in terms of camber changes and elevation. Things like the climbing S's, it's very famous, all the little nuances there. But it's definitely, I would say, in my experience, one of the hardest, if not the hardest, technically challenging tracks to drive, and that's what makes everyone want to keep coming back here and doing laps over and over again, trying to get that one perfect lap in.
Paul Newman said, "If there's heaven on earth, it's VIR."
Yeah,
exactly.
I did. I don't know if I first saw that on your website, but it is on your website.
Obviously. I think there is a banner somewhere in the paddock that has that in one of the buildings that has that quote in there for sure.
Yeah,
well, VIR just released their history video on YouTube and a little short movie, and they talk about that there too. It's pretty cool. So, VIR's the latest iteration of VIR has been open since around 2000. I think it was 2000 when they reopened it up.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. My buddy or my boss at University of Virginia came out here and went to the first event they had, got to drive around it. I guess everybody got, pay a few bucks and go around the track. Came back and says, dude, you've got to go to this track. And wasn't a year later, I'm down there and it's just like, wow, this place is amazing. We have run, I think it's 12 or 13 24 hours. The first 24-hour race we had there was on the South Course,
right?
With ChampCar, and then we did a 24 where we ran
the Grand.
Well, we ran half the course, and then overnight we switched to the full course. And then the following year we ran Grand.
Wait, you switched?
And we ran Grand a few times.
Did you switch to the full course in the dark?
Dusk. I think they went.
That's just mean.
That
went
would
red
really
flag.
keep everybody on their toes.
Oh
for
my
sure.
gosh! I mean,
Yeah.
to have to make that transition, yeah, no, that's just cruel.
And we were paddocked in the South Course, so
Oh gosh.
that just made it really weird. Because you only see that one part, and the guys are way off. It would just seem so backwards to me because it was.
Yeah.
And then we went back to I think we did the Grand Course a few times, and then we went to finally settle down the full course. So what's your favorite course there?
Obviously the full course is the benchmark for everybody, but I do enjoy the grand course as well. The several, only get to run it a couple of times a year just because it's like a miniature
Right.
Nürburgring lap in terms of the fact that a really quick car, if it gets under 3 minutes long for a lap time, is really hauling. So it's like
Right.
and you have very little time anywhere throughout the lap to take a break.
Right.
So you're constantly just going along, and I think that's a fun, mental challenge.
Yeah, we did one time where we ran it the full course, and we ran the grand course, and we switched back over to the full course. And I remember getting in it. I think it was like 5 o'clock in the morning in Troy's car in the Biohazard MR2, and going back out and going and completely forgetting that we were now doing the grand course, and balls out, going down the back straightaway, and then seeing that tire wall. And in your head, you're going, why is there a tire wall in front of me? And then, oh shit, slam the brakes, turn the car, and hopefully it turns. I didn't turn, and I just nosed it into the tire wall just a slight bit, but backed it out and continued on. But it was like that instant.
I'm awake.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, they don't call that turn the bitch for no reason.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
God.
literally what it is on the track map.
So they've made some changes to VIR. They've added some new tire walls. They've added the paddock is completely different now. You enter the track in different spots.
Yeah, we have a new staging area.
Yep.
It's very nice.
So, but that wall, that's crazy.
14.
Man. Yes.
You're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on it. I think I've seen some accidents there that, where the wall could have stopped, if it hadn't been there, prevented a car from touching and having any mechanical damage. But I've also seen crashes there where I'm like, I'm so happy that wall is there, because before it was a row of tires and the steel guardrail immediately behind it.
Right.
And now it has a big bundle that is not attached to anything you can actually move. I mean, this last weekend we had a friend of mine in his 992 GT3 have which is a Porsche 992 GT3, the current car. He had a ABS failure coming off the back straightaway at 160, and I think he hit that wall almost head on at near 90 miles an hour. And he was able to, climb right out of the car afterwards.
Wow.
Of course, he had a 5-point and a Hans, which is very smart. But if that wall had not been there, and he just went straight into the, regular old tire wall with the steel guardrail immediately behind it, I don't want to know what would have happened to him.
Right. So, and I know that also kept cars from bouncing back onto the track too.
Right. And that's one thing that I think is going to that's always different, now is when every time I come over the crest of 13, which is the crest in the middle of the back straightaway, station 13 is off to your left. I'm always checking that station 14 off to the left, the end of the back straightaway. Then like ChampCar racing, lighter cars that you guys drive with, a lot less power than most. Plenty of people hit that and then ricochet back into the track now. So that is another aspect of something that you didn't used to have, because people will hit that wall and then bounce back into the racing surface. So now you do have to also be very cognizant of that. Happening.
That's interesting. I thought that was meant to stop that from happening, but I guess you have to make it to a certain level
they don't
to stop
go over. They don't go over and hit you as you're coming down the hill in your passenger door. They might just go into that tire wall. If they hit it at 10 or 20 miles an hour, if it's like a Miata, it can bounce back off of the thing and then be, quartered away on the inside of the track. So it's always good to watch that flagger off of 14 as soon as you come over the crest.
Right. And he's right. He's always on his toes there too.
Yep, for sure. It's an exciting place on the track, a lot of passing, and it's a narrow area. So do have to be very careful.
And then
So
they added some new walls down at the bottom of Hog Pen as you come off the
Yeah,
hill.
yeah,
There's
off
some
to our
protection
left,
down there.
stop you. I mean, they're quite a far ways away now. You're talking about like off the front straightaway to the left. You would have to be going on one heck of an excavation to get out to them. But
You
if you
say
did,
that.
it
You
just
say that.
stops
oh,
you getting the rest of the way into the woods,
I
or into the river over there.
we saw someone hit that wall back
Well,
in
I have
March.
not seen that yet. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
yeah. It was it was
And you have to be doing something
it.
to get
Well,
all
it
the
was
way out
wet.
there.
It was wet,
Ah,
which I'm sure didn't help. But yeah, it was a little hairy. But Bill, you're doing the 24 with Wit now, right?
Yeah, what now? Driving for them, yes.
Right.
I'm driving to day shift.
Do you
early
have
on.
a notepad and a pencil with you?
Oh, I know that course, dude. I am the
No.
master
Bill is
of
telling
VIR.
Bill is telling me to make sure that you are taking notes
Oh yeah,
because
no,
he
I
wants
take
his
notes.
car coming back in one piece.
Yes.
So,
Well, one thing I do is I'm not going to overdrive somebody else's car during the 24, unless it's Troy's.
okay.
But I'm not
yeah,
gonna.
that's
I'm
fair
not gonna.
game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spin off lap 1 or
All right.
even before the lap begins.
He just wants you to take good notes.
Yeah. So no, I'm driving a Mini. I haven't driven a front wheel drive car in years, on the track. But I figure it's just like a mid-engine car with tires in the back driving just at the other side. So it
It's
does the
just
same
like
thing,
that.
right?
Just
Should
like
be
that.
not
Stay on the
180 opposite whatsoever.
just stay on the throttle.
But Bill, you have to realize that you're going to have to drive that car frontwards.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. See, that's the difference. That's the
Yeah,
difference.
the horse is pulling the carriage. It's not pushing the
Yeah.
carriage anymore.
Yes.
Exactly.
I'll get it right. I raced Shelby Charger GLHS many years ago. Some of those plaques up there from doing that. So
Nice.
it'll come back.
So Wyatt, now you've established way early in this podcast that you're a youngster.
Yeah.
Rub that in very nicely with us. So,
Hey, hold on. Bump the sound a bit. They're saying the volume's just a little lower than normal.
For all of us,
I guess.
Yeah, I can bump it up. Sure, no problem. There we go.
Yeah.
So we've established, or you established very early on that you're a youngster. Did you run VIR with the oak tree?
Yes. Yeah. I think
Okay.
my first laps on VIR, it was about 16, 17. That would
Okay.
have been 2007 or so. So I had a little bit of time with it for sure. I really do miss that though.
How much
Yeah, me too.
different is it? If you've never driven it with the oak tree, you don't know any better.
It's way different.
It's massively different. The first thing I remember was the auditory. It was so exciting to drive out and go under the tree, and then just as you're rolling hard down on the throttle, you're under the canopy of the branches and the leaves, and you could hear the reverberation of your engine, coming up from above you back in. I was like, and
there's
then you
also a
launch out.
guardrail on your right.
Yes,
So,
there is.
and you were right up against that guardrail.
Yep, and you had corner workers right there. That was
right
their
there.
favorite black flag station. They could get out and hit you in the face with the black flag.
Yeah.
Or throw it into your car. You idiot.
Bill,
Yeah,
you know all about
much.
the black flag, right?
Funny thing about that, I think I've only been black flagged one time.
At VIR? Or just one time ever?
I think it was one of my other drivers, and I got blamed for, because
you did it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. The car did it, and I'll sit here, and I think it might have been contact or something. It was just a long time ago.
Yeah, but now that corner doesn't even feel like the same corner to me.
Well, they reconfigured it when they did the repave.
The extra pavement off to your left, like before, that was a much more difficult, much tighter turn because where our gray original curbing is, 1 inch behind that was into the mud and off. Now we've got the FIA tiles, and then you've got a whole car width extra pavement. So it completely changed the feeling of that corner. Plus, visually, you couldn't see around that tire wall, guardrail, and tree. So you came around there and someone had spun. They're like, oh, hello. Right as you would be trying to accelerate back to full throttle to go out onto that straightaway.
Yeah, I feel like before I would have to chicken lift, because you just couldn't trust anything, especially myself. But now, when you can see the whole thing coming through, it's just a whole different deal.
Yeah.
And it's probably safer now. But
Well, there's
It's
a couple of
definitely safer.
spots that were reconfigured as you come up over out of the S's, the uphill S's. You come up over the hill and they widen that. What's that corner called? Not
Turn
Nine
9.
Turn 9. Yeah, they widen that out, but people are still hitting the dirt there in the grass and.
Yeah. The S is really it's like a one line, one car width line up through there. It's exciting to fit two if you're brave enough.
so
But
I was just say you've got the ear of the people that run the place, right? You can
mhm,
you can talk to them anytime. Now there's a lot of oak trees on that property.
there is.
Oh, they have an oak tree right across
We
from it.
we
They
uh we
replanted it.
replanted a sapling from the
Yeah.
original oak tree just outside. If you look there, there's a little mound with
Right.
two bleachers, and right in between it, there's a little tiny tree down there, and
It's
that's
not tiny
our.
anymore. It's starting to get big. It's
It's
growing.
relatively,
Yeah.
it's relatively
It's
okay.
not like that big when they planted it.
No,
Yeah,
but
it's now like a large bush.
Yeah.
you could have
Yes.
put a tree back there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So
they could have replaced it. Or
They could have, but
they could have, but with getting FIA
Yeah,
certifications and all that, and trying to do that whole thing, no one really wants to have anybody crashing into a tree.
yeah, I know. It doesn't
And
make
then
me
there was
happy about it.
luckily when that tree fell down was the end of a 3-day, massive rainstorm,
Yeah.
and no one happened to be renting the track that day. I can't imagine how exciting it would have been to have been flying up 311, come up and be like, an oak tree in the middle of the track.
Now,
Because
did it
fell
fall?
into
Yeah,
the
that's
track.
what I
yeah,
thought.
it fell
It
into the
fell
track.
back across towards the outside.
I remember getting that text on Twitter and seeing it and going, "What the hell? Oh, a branch fell. Oh shit, no, the whole thing fell."
Yeah.
And it was
Yep.
like, wow, yeah.
I
Crazy.
remember reposting it on one of the forums saying that people all around the country are crying tonight
Yeah.
for an oak tree.
All right, let's start off the track real quick. Going down the front straightaway, you have that kink that when you're driving,
Yep.
it doesn't really feel like a kink on the front straight.
It's nothing.
Yeah, it's even downhill too.
Oh, is it? I never knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Oh,
go
yeah, it
stand
does,
at the
doesn't it?
guardrail,
Yeah.
there, you'd be amazed. It's like 10 feet downhill between the top to the bottom of that little kink right there.
Yep.
Now, then you're basically at max speed, minding the traffic on the left, on the people coming out of pit lane at the right. You have a blend line there you have to watch.
Mm-hmm.
On both sides, basically, you want to stay to the blend line side when you're coming out of pit lane, because if you don't, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, plenty of
You-
people merge in front of people straight out of the pit
Ooh.
lane, and you don't see them people coming, especially on track days when you can have some cars out there. Like I've gone into turn 1 at 170 miles an hour. If someone was merging out in front of me in a Miata, they wouldn't be having a very good time.
Now, Chris said, "Don't let people know how fast his E30 is."
Yeah,
So
I don't even know if I even remember.
no, we were all about the same, but they could break a lot later than we could. They were a lot
Yeah.
lighter. But so
Yeah.
you hit to everybody out there, the proper braking point on that track is 5. Remember that. You
Yep,
see a little
there's
mini,
six.
you see a
There's
little
6,
mini
there's
or the
5.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you see a
Or
little
you-
mini hitting the 3 or the 2, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, if it's applying the brakes at 98 miles an hour, the 2 is acceptable.
Well played.
Oh,
Well played.
Yeah.
See what you get, Bill?
yeah.
You're
I
coming
thought I
in
was
there.
getting a smart
You
one
started
there.
that.
If you're coming in there at 120, 130, it really depends on the weight of your car. I mean,
Right.
some people have to brake, have to make up a 7 board with the stock car guys that we have running out here occasionally in the VIR club. You have to make up new
Oh,
boards.
yeah, that's right.
But I usually, like in Chris's E30s, I think in fuel saving mode, we'd lift around the 6 and hit the brake around 3.5.
Right. That's
And
about
then-
where we did the MR2 as well, about 3.5. 4.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So-
just got to make sure you don't run out of brake, of course, before the end of 24 hours. That's the trick.
Well, that's it. And what happens if you miss that turn? You can go off. You can go off pretty far out there.
You
Do you
can.
try to save the car? Do you just nice and easy? Is it bumpy?
Yeah,
Is
if
it
you
wet?
go
Is it
off,
mushy?
if you go off turn one, I always tell people don't. If you know you're not going to make it, don't start to turn right, because if you turn right and cut the corner, there is a wall right there on the right hand side of the track that you go straight downhill and head on into. If you keep going straight, you've got 400, 400 yards before you hit anything to slow the rest of the way down, circle back, and come back on. That's
Because
just
it's better.
Yes, it's better to keep going that way. I've explored it a time or two, and I've always decided to just go straight ahead. That seems to have worked out better than the right. The right I've seen people do, and that goes straight downhill right into a wall. Especially if it's wet,
Right.
you're not getting out from down there for sure.
All right. So you make the corner. You come out of there, and you've got another kink, and you want to head over to the right. Get to the right side as much as you can before you get into NASCAR.
Right. Yeah. The apex for one is quite far around. Actually, it's deceptively far around as it's an increasing radius corner. So you got a the biggest problem I see and when teaching people there is a lot of people overslow the corner. They pick the apex speed they want, which is usually somewhere in the range of the high 40s for most street tired treaded, car, high 40s. And they'll find that speed at right at the one board or the right in between the one board and the right arrow. They'll be going, 45, 47. They'll just touch the throttle and turn in at 45 and drive 45 from the corner entry all the way around the apex, which ends up giving you a bunch of understeer there because they'll be just casually, with maintenance throttles taking weight off the nose of the car. That kind of corner, the biggest thing I see is trying to convince people to release the brake smoothly and then roll the car in and only apply the throttle one time, which would be right around the very end of the curbing at the apex of one, which is that short piece. There's another piece up by the exit as you come up to that crest on the way out. Some people, they can hug the inside. If you've got a higher horsepower car, I like to try and draw a straight line sooner. If you're in a Miata or something like that, as soon as you're at the apex, you can put the throttle down and let the car track out to your left. But as you're coming out of there, I just hold that same bright steering angle all the way till I get back to the right hand side of the track, coming into what would be turn two, which is that little left before NASCAR bend, which is turn three.
And you have a little flagging station off to the left there as well.
Yeah, which is 99% of the time not manned, but that's where it gets its corner name from. Is Station 2 is right there.
And then we have Station 3, which is the left-hander.
Right.
And I see teams taking the curbing there. I see teams not taking the curbing.
You're talking at the apex of three?
Well, at the apex, and then they track out over the bumpity bumps.
Yes,
on the right.
I like to do that. So turn three, I find most people are amazed how fast that corner actually is. Going into it, right, you have a lot of pavement on the way in, and then it seems to shrink as you come down towards turn three. Now there's on the right-hand side, and this will be a good thing for everyone to remember if they haven't been there before, but as you come into turn three, there's about a large pizza-sized shape of a white, like a sealant that went over a pothole that everyone had developed from running through that. And that was the natural line to try and get out to the right. So as you came through turn two, you wanted to use the car's momentum to track you back out to the right to set up for turn three. And you want to have as little steering angle in as you could as you brush the brake. It's not like a hammer onto the brake because you always have steering input in. So you go to hammer the brake while you're turning, a lot of people will spin the back of the car around.
Yeah, my
But
son did
you
that
brush in and a nice in and a smooth out on the brake pedal. And then you're going to turn in and you're going to try and drive that right front tire over my white like concrete patch in there, right at the right hand side of the track. It'd be very obvious to someone who drives the lap. Then the curbing really depends. You can hit that, but if your car is on the stiffer side, usually you're trying to be back to full throttle right as you're coming up to the three curb. There's plenty of cars that if they hit that under power can start to slide the back end of the car. So a lot of the time I would come right up to the face of the gray curbing without climbing it. Higher momentum cars, they don't mind it so much.
Right.
And then I would like to track out as you were talking about. We have that now extra pavement that we didn't have back in the day.
Right.
That out on the outside of turn three. I like that curb I like to try and straddle that curb, which is the gray curbing plus the FIA tiles. And that puts me right down the very right hand edge of the track going into turn 4. And that gives me the maximum track width coming in. So I
You,
like to, because if I'm on the inside of that curb, I would actually have to steer right slightly to get back to the right hand side of the track to get that maximum track width for turning into the left hander at turn 4.
you mentioned on at turn 1 that you wanted to kind of be patient and ease it in, and then come out
Right.
to the throttle later. Here you're talking about waiting to straddle the curb and maybe not use everything you've got there. I find that VIR is a track maybe more than many others where patience is really helpful. Kind of where going slower might be going faster. Is that kind of how you see it?
There's in the slower speed stuff, yes. There's that classic trope of always need, and the people teach this or say this all the time, but you always need to have some sort of pedal input in. And I don't subscribe to that, pedals. So like either you're braking or you're accelerating. But I find, the car really likes to rotate the best when all the car's available traction is used for steering and it's not used for some braking and or some throttle. So patience is important for sure. And there's a lot of corners at VIR where one corner leads immediately into the next one. So if you're very aggressive and trying to get the most out of, say, turn 4, which is that sharp left-hander right after turn 3, our sharpest left on the property, you will be, very to the inside of 4B, which is the right-hander immediately afterwards. And I see a lot of people make that mistake because they try and carry way too much speed into turn 4, forgetting that 4B, the immediate right-hander right after that, sets up basically if you have most champ cars, it's going to be very close to 5A and B being almost flat out. So 4A can really start your straightaway. So if you're overdriving 4A and B, then of course your exit speed out of 5A and B down the bridge straightaway up to the S's will be lower. So
now, as a car, if you were a car owner, would you tell the driver to shift at 5 while he's shifting at 5.5 or 6? I'm just asking for
engine
Ron.
RPM.
Where is it? Yeah, where's Ron? Where is he?
How fast is how fast do we need to be going?
Ron was telling me to shift at a certain point. I said, well, what gear are you in? When are you shifting? It's 5. I said, okay. So I go out in the Visceral 944 and I go out there and I'm shifting at 5. And then I look at his in-car videos that we have the live video. I'm like,
wait, shifting at 6,200.
Yeah, like 8. I don't know, but yeah, he was in like 7th gear by the bridge, and I was still in like 4th. So yeah, it sucked. So the S's, what do they call the lower S's?
Yeah, what 5AB is the lower S's.
Yeah,
and then after you pass the bridge, that's the climbing S's.
Right. So the lower S's. Now, there's a famous video of you out there. Which is better, to pass on the tarmac or pass in the grass?
It just depends on.
I know. Wait. I know passing in the grass got you a win.
Right. Yeah. If it's 15 minutes to go and the leader's 4 seconds ahead of you or something like that, then passing in the grass, it might be safer if you know that the car ahead of you definitely will not be intentionally driving into the grass. So sometimes that could be the safest way to keep your momentum going, but it might not be the most recommended 99%.
Who's the race director for the 24?
All of them.
All of them? Hopefully they're not listening to this broadcast.
Recommend.
Oh, we've already talked about this. We've talked about it over and over again. So I didn't see the video of Wyatt beating everybody at VIR back in 2014, 2014, 13. Yeah.
Might have been my first race.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there, I think it was like last year, and I pull up this video, and it's from Chip, or as I like to call Skip. Chip has this video up, and it's Wyatt just crashing through the corners. It was awesome. But it's like, wait, you can't, no, yeah.
Yeah, that was
yelling at my TV.
That was early 20s me.
Yeah,
but I don't think I've really changed much in the preceding decade. I probably did the same thing over again.
So I learned driving the Camaro through there that the curbs really helped with the speed because you weren't, just
Right.
straighten that line up as much as you
5A, which is the right-handers, you go in to the lower S's after you've just come out of 4B and you're on that short straightaway there. That short straightaway is not really straight. It's got a slight rightward kink to it. So
Right.
as you come through 4A, you're going to try and carry enough speed through 4B as you transition from left to right to have momentum to track the car out to the left to set up for 5A. So you really want to be accelerating the car, even though I'm turning hard to the right, eyes to the right, going through 4B, and the momentum is going to drive me out to the left. Then that part of the track has really deceptive geometry in terms of the fact that as you go into 5A, the track actually drops away right there, right where the end of the curb is, driver's left as you're coming into 5A. So you actually turn in maybe I say about 6 feet sooner than you would if the corner was perfectly flat,
Right.
flat. So you're going in ahead of the geometric line to get around the dip. Otherwise, the car just sinks into a hole and you can never seem to get it rotated. So that ends up meaning that you need to touch the inside part of the 5A curb, which is that right-hander there. I usually try and put the center line of the tire on the seam between the gray curbing and the green and yellow FIA tile, and that helps get you around through there. And then on the exit, that 5B, which is as you're coming out of there, that curb is my favorite curb on the whole property. If you watch any of my videos on my YouTube channel of me driving around there, that thing gets monster trucked over like nobody's business. Because as you track out of there, the FIA tile is on a really nice angle. So as you track out, you go up on the gray and then you climb up onto the FIA curbing, and it catches you and places the car back in the track. So it basically finishes the corner off for you. You carry enough momentum. It's like driving into banking on a NASCAR oval, essentially. You go into it, it catches the car, and it brings you back down onto the track. And it allows me to carry, 2 more miles an hour. I didn't have that luxury back when I first started driving at the track in 2007. You did that, you'd be left sides in the dirt. And we frequently were back then.
Now then you go under the bridge. You want to set yourself up right. Make sure you're 3 or 4 abreast as you go up through the S's.
Yeah. If you're not doing at least 3 wide, you're not living, Yeah. It's got to be nighttime too. If it's not nighttime when you do that, don't even bother. Come try again later.
Yeah.
So so you come up there, the North Course that you run, I think it's December race, right?
Yep.
North Course pavement is off to the right. So you want to be basically almost in there, and you'll see 4 little cones. There's usually 4, sometimes 3, depending on where maintenance is move some of them. But you'll see those 4 cones right there on the right, and the end of the North Course cut through as it goes up the hill will make almost like a triangle in the grass right where the end of the North Course cut through pavement ends. And right as I get the right front tire there, you make a nice arc left. And the simple thing is you're just aiming for the back of the curb at 7. And you want to try and draw 2 straight lines up that hill, essentially. As I come down from the North Course cut through, I want to draw a straight line across the backside of the 7 curbing. 8 is the crest, or 8A is the crest as you go up. And the part of that is really important is that you really want to have the steering wheel be dead straight before you reach that curb and are climbing over. Because if you go over that curb and you've apexed in early, and this is what gets most people, is they'll come into 7 and they won't keep coming left through 7 long enough, which is a left-hander at the bottom of the S's, and then they'll just head straight in towards 8. And so when they get to 8, when they start to turn the wheel, if you pause their onboard video, they'll be almost on the right edge of the track before the steering wheel goes right, which means when they hit the crest, the nose of the car is actually pointed off to the left of the track behind the 8B curbing, which means that when they come over there, they say, "Oh dear," and they do this number.
They don't say "Oh dear," by the way.
Yeah, they don't.
They
have
say
enough time
something.
to say that.
Well, they say something, but it ain't "Oh dear."
Yeah. PG-13, right?
Yeah.
So you go over, and if you're doing this now, some cars, once you hit 130 miles an hour in there, you're going to be substantially airborne. Below that, most ChampCar guys, we're probably doing 110, 120 for the fast guys, right? As you go over there, the front tires, as you come down the backside of 8A, the front tires are going to be the first thing that lands in the pavement. And if you're steering to the right and you come down and land on the other side, the rear is still up in the air, but your front tires have now landed and their steering wheel's pointed right towards the Patriot course. You're going to land, and then the front's going to dig in and say, "Hey, let's go that way." And then as soon as the
Yeah.
back end lands,
Yeah.
you're just going to go
Yeah.
off that way to the
And
right.
we've seen it, and we've seen it happen. Yeah.
Yeah. 99% of the time, the accidents there occur to the right. Basically everyone goes off driver's right from apexing early into 8A, which is purely from not being patient enough, to go back to Brian's point, not being patient enough coming into the S's, waiting until they get to that end of the north course pavement, and then making a nice left to aim for the back of the 7 curb, come up and go right over 8A, and then straight. And then as you come over 8A, I like to have the nose of the car be in line with the 8B curbing, which is the curb on the left just before you get to the top of the S's. And I want to put my left front tire right on the very back of the gray curbing at the very end with the left front. And then that gives me the maximum track width in the 9. Because really, turn 9 is the hardest corner in the S's for actual G loading. Like the 7 and 8 can be hard if your driving line is off, but if you can place the car correctly, like basically every champ car, I think, will pretty much get up there wide open from 7 to 8 if you've placed the car correctly. From turn 9,
it took us a long time to trust the aero, to trust the car to do that.
Yeah,
back in the day.
Back in the day, for sure. Yeah, back in the day, I think we were lucky with like Rusty. Which was, I was lucky to be doing 115 or something, and it was like no problem. But turn 9 there at the top of the corner. That's now another way to know if you've messed up the S's at all is if you need to slam in your right front tire into the leading edge of the turn 9 curb. That curb destroys more wheels on the property than any other car. We had at Kaizen, we had a C8 Corvette right when it came out, right? And I think it's like a 30 series front profile tire, maybe it's 25 or 30. It's like a paper. I think we, in the year span that we rented that car out, I think we bent somewhere in the range of about a dozen right front wheels on that one curb alone. So if you're trying to run a 24-hour race, you got to be very aware that the leading edge of that turn 9 curb is nasty, especially 24 hours in, where maintenance is not going to be going out there during the race and filling the holes in. Filling the holes in. They're not going to be doing that. So,
well, it's funny because you can tell, because it happens. I mean, throughout the course, everything is perfect at the beginning of the race. Then you get a couple hours in, you start missing cones. Those 4 cones that used to be at Patriot are now gone. Somebody's moved an apex cone 15 feet away, and you go into that corner thinking that was your breaking point, and guess what? You're out in a field somewhere.
Well, and also think about hitting that. What is there going to be? 600 laps in a 24-hour race, Bill? Probably 800 laps. I don't remember.
1,000.
Was it whatever?
It's a lot.
It's a lot of laps.
2 minutes a lap times, so 30 an hour by 24.
So let's say you hit that 400, 500 times. Your front hub's not going to like that by the 554th time.
No, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it to the 50th time.
Right, exactly.
You're not lucky.
Especially in an MR2.
Yes, especially in an MR2.
So all right. So we're getting ready to go into station 10, into the turn 10 area.
Turn 10, South Bend.
That, to me, South Bend is the hardest, and I think because it's blind, and I just can never trust myself going through there, and I always let off, and I don't know why, but to me it's safer just to let off.
That corner is really fun, especially at nighttime, when the problem with headlights is no one's invented light that can bend over a hill yet. So, as you come down
close.
there, we're trying, but problem with headlights is light doesn't bend over to the hill. So going in there is a lot of fun. Same thing with the S's at night. That's just so much fun.
Right.
But as you come up there, you come out at 9 and you have that really nice little rise, and then you come back down. Now, if you're going left, if you're leaving the right edge of the track as you come out of turn 9 at the right hander at the top of the S's, then you have that crest that's right there. And if you're trying to come back to the right edge to set up for 10 as you're going over that crest and you hit the brakes, a lot of people are just going to disappear drivers
Out of the
right off
field.
down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. If, just disappear off
Yeah.
down there and go for a ride for, 30
Right.
seconds because you're going to probably leave the track at 90 to 100 miles an hour. But
Right.
yeah, so you really want to stay right through 9, come up over the crest. And as soon as you come over that crest, I like to brush on the brake and then come off of the brake. And as soon as I go to turn in for 10, I'm going to try and aim for the very beginning of the gray curbing at the apex at 10. As soon as you can see that is really about the time you need to turn in. A lot of people think that corner is sharper than it is because you
Right.
cannot see the exit of it. But it is actually only about, it's a very shallow corner. It's about 15, 20 degrees. It's not tight, but it's because you can't see the
Yeah.
exit pavement that you're like, I think that thing is tighter. So a lot of people will end up going too far in and then they will turn in sharply thinking it's like, oh, it's better to late apexes. So let me turn in late and hard. And then they end up spinning the back end of the car around on the corner entry that way and going in. But really, it's a very early apex. You're trying to aim for the front face of that gray curbing as soon as you see it coming up over, and you really want to be on the throttle at least some. If I pick 20%, I want to hold 20% till I get down to that curb at the apex of 10 and then be rolling the rest of the way back into it
Right.
very progressively as I come out. You find yourself going in there and being on, 20, 30, 40% throttle and then having to drop it. If you have to go like, oh, I think I'm not going to make the outer edge of the track, and you start to
Yeah.
peel the throttle off, you get that weight transfer to the front, and that's where you see all those tire marks that lead to
Yeah.
that really
On the-
large crash zone that we have there at the exit of turn 10 down on the left.
So
And where people,
what do you do if you'd find yourself like, oh shit, I'm not going to recover this? Do you just continue straight?
yeah, it would be better if you feel that when you get to that exit curving, you have a lot of steering angle in and you're like, yeah, I'm not making this corner. It would be better to open the wheel out and go down into that 55 acres of grass that's outside between
Yeah.
10 and 12, bounce along a little bit, and come back up, halfway up
Safely,
into,
of course, safely.
yeah, or aggressively, which
Yeah.
everyone else will do,
Yeah.
as you
So
say.
yeah. So you now setting up for the downhill and kind of uphill because you kind of go down, compress a
Yep,
bit, and then come back up.
that's a huge uphill.
Yep. And a lot of guys will kind of hang out to the left to kind of hit the apex at 11. It used to be a big corner. Now it's squared off down there. I think it's like a real late apex there, right? Kind of you stay out wide as you
For
go through Oak
11,
Tree. Well,
so
yeah,
11
for
is the 11 is the as I come down the hill out of 10 South Bend and I'm coming back up. I see the brake marker boards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1
yeah,
on the left. As you come up the hill there, a lot of people forget that is a crazy steep hill. So it's already decelerating the car
right,
as soon as you let off the throttle really quickly. So as I come up that hill, a lot of cars are going to probably brake between 3 and the 2, depending if you're really going for it. You're going to be somewhere around 3 and 2. I like to go in there and as I turn into 11, I'm trying to carry enough momentum in the car that the car comes through 11. And I like to go right up to the apex curb at 11, which is the first right hander there. I like to not hit the apex curb, but have my right front be within a foot or two of the curbing. And I like to carry enough momentum that I'm still turning right all the way through 11, and the momentum of the car is going to track it all the way out to driver's left so that I can set up for 12, which is Oak Tree, which leads out onto our big back straightaway, the most important corner of the entire facility because it leads out onto the longest straightaway. If I make a mistake there,
right.
you're penalized for 30 seconds. If I leave that corner 5 miles an hour down, I can't do anything about it for, 30 seconds. Have you know your turn-in point and your apex speed be accurate, and those two corners are the hardest two corners for everyone I ever teach to get right. And unfortunately, it also happens to be the most important sequence of corners at the same time.
Now in traffic, of course,
Hmm.
you can't take the line because
Yep.
there'll probably be 6 or 7 cars right there, or one car spun off or whatever. But it's you get a lot of guys that will sit there and as you're coming out of 10 down into 11, they'll sit off to your right. and kind of set themselves up to kind of hug that corner going around there. Some cars can do it really, really good. I mean, which means they could probably go faster if they took the correct line.
Yes.
But they're slowing through there. But you have to watch them because you're expecting nobody to be there, and you'll turn in for 11, and boom, there's a car there.
Yeah, and that becomes someone passing on the inside between 11 and 12 is usually a pretty low percentage move. I will warn people,
right?
Just because a lot of that's a very busy part of the track, and basically every time I try and pass someone there, I realize they're not seeing me.
Yeah,
because it's so intense. There's so much going on. You're coming up over 11. You come in there, and as you crest that hill, you don't really know where the outer edge of the track is, driver's left.
right.
So you're looking ahead, and you're paying attention downrange because you're trying to get to your turn-in point for 12. And a lot of people are not going to be at the same time looking in the rear view mirror for someone sliding up the inside there.
And they're kind of throwing away 11 to make 12 work, because 12 is so important to go up that hill. So you're not only throwing away 11 from a track position standpoint, you're throwing away 11 in your noggin too. Mm-hmm. So you're not thinking that and you're thinking everyone else is going to throw it away. So you're not expecting anybody to try to make that move.
Oh, but they will.
Oh, I know they will. But
you can make the move into 11 if you get a good run out of 10, but making the move between 11 and 12, where that really feels like almost one car width wide,
right?
That always seems to be an area with a source of a lot of car-to-car contact over the course of certainly 24 hours.
So we've gotten through 12. You've got curbing on the right, which is really tall. You got to watch your wheel bearings, your mufflers,
as you're coming through the apex of 12 you're talking about.
Yeah. And then you can go out left. There's a lot of curbing out there. We see a lot of folks using that, but I've also seen Tawati with TLM. One of their drivers was the differential. I think it was, the car was pretty low as he came out of the corner there. The curbing the differential bottomed out on the curbing, which caused all kinds of really high dollar damage on their M3s. So, you do have to watch this curbing going around this track.
Yeah, that area can be a little bit bumpy. Like 99% of the cars should be okay with it. But if your car is low, do be aware that you can. Right. Like if you're driving a sports racer or something like that, it's a problem for sure.
So you go through turn 12. Now you're headed down the hill, and it's a pretty good. You get a lot of momentum.
We got 5/8 of a mile here, a little over to run your car down that back straightaway.
Now, something that as you can see, if you're looking at the track map that VIR provided, there's a little arrow that tells you the direction the track is going. And off to the right of that arrow, the track kind of dips down. Over on the right, it's more of a dip than on the left. But there's also like a small
kink.
Yes. So what's the correct position going through there?
As I come off of 12, I'm going to draw. As I leave 12, I'm going to basically aim for the right side wheels to come up to that white line right at the bottom of that hill to come up. So I just want to run the shortest physical distance, the shortest, make the track as short as possible in that point, because I can still be full throttle through that little kink, of course. So I'm just trying to basically make a straight line and then go up, and then I'm just going to hug the right-hand side as I climb that hill.
And this is a good place to check your belts.
Yeah, check your gauges, water temperature.
Water, take a drink of water.
That corner worker station at 13, we always say, please check that. He's up there, or she is up there at the top of that hill. You got plenty of time as you come off at 12 to look up there. But I've, gone over that hill and found people that are trying to crawl back to the pits, and their car can't make it the other way back up the other side of the hill going into 13. And there's someone sitting there right on the driver's line with a stalled out car. And you come flying over that hill at 120 miles an hour. So we would say, please look at that station 13, which is right there at the left at the crest of the hill on the back straightaway.
And don't hit it.
Yeah, don't hit it.
We've had people hit that in our races. So you've crested that 13 there. You're getting ready to set yourself up for turn 13, which is a left-hander, hard on the brakes. You've got your signs on the right? I think the brake signs are on the right side.
Brake boards are on the right.
Yep. And then you're making a left-hand turn. You've got a corner station there on your left, and you have to watch him because
Yep.
he's looking out for you as you go down the hill.
Right. Where that new
Roller
tire
coaster.
wall
Yep.
is. Yep.
Yep. And there is a new tire wall. Yep, of course.
Yep.
So you're braking hard. Where are you setting the car up for the 13-14 area?
So the trick to 13-14, I find, is a lot of drivers, when they come off of that back straightaway, as they come down the hill and start to climb up the hill again, going into finding their break point, they'll really concentrate on 13, which is that little left kink. And when they do that, they have a tendency to drastically overslow the car. You really want to make that a section where it's one continuous brake application. I'll find people that go on the brake, they come completely off the brake, they coast for 80 feet, and they go back on the brake again for 14, which means that they could have gone, probably 100
Way
something
deeper.
feet,
Yeah.
100 something feet farther full throttle at their peak speed, which is really, paying you huge dividends. You really want to keep that 120 miles an hour, let's say, going as long as you can. So, you're going to come up there. What I do is when I hit the brake, my mind doesn't even think turn 13 exists. When I go in there, the only thing I'm thinking about in my mind is where's turn 14 and how much brake do I need to go to the right down there. So you're coming up that hill and you're probably braking somewhere between the 2 and the 1 board, depending on the car. At a right as the nose passes the 1 board, I'm going to start departing the driver's right hand side of the track, coming in there, and I'm going to come through and I'm going to try and draw a straight line where the left front tire comes right up next to the 13 curb. And as soon as I've done that, I'm going to open the steering wheel up and I can now have a straight line braking zone from 13 into 14, which means you come in usually about middle track into 14, which is still.
There's a concrete transition point there too, isn't there? It goes from blacktop to concrete, or
That would be sort of, but it would be the older asphalt to the newer asphalt.
Okay,
if you were on the Grand or the North Course.
Oh, okay.
That's where that transition is. But that's all, one continuous. There's a lot of sealant up at turn 14, so it's a little bit darker pavement, which is really treacherous.
Yeah.
If it's raining, it's very treacherous. And then you come in there and you're going to release the brake, turn right. As you go down that hill, it's going to start to fall down to go into 14. Really, I like to have the brake off before I'm really rolling right. Put that right front tire up on just the gray curbing there on the right-hand side. If you got a really low horsepower car, a lot of people can carry a lot of momentum through 14 track all the way out to the left-hand side of the track and then go down through 15 and still be flat out on the throttle. If you can do that, then by all means, carry a lot of speed through 14. Let yourself get driver's left before 15, even if you can still hold the throttle down and go through, 15 wide open. But you have
it's
a little
fun
bit
corner. The roller coaster.
That's a lot of compression down there.
Yeah.
As you come down, if you have a higher horsepower car or perhaps a heavier car, it's important to try and exit 14 somewhere around the middle of the track so you can get a nice arc through 15. And that's that fast left that has a substantial amount of compression in it that most people don't realize.
You want to try bank too.
Yeah.
So
you want to try and utilize that.
Yeah.
A lot of people will go in there and they'll drive through the compressionary part and then try and turn because they see the right edge of the track coming up. And what ends up happening is the car will compress as it goes down through there, and then it will unload, right? You get all that spring energy stored in the car as it compresses. They'll not utilize it while it's hunkered down. They'll come out and then they'll turn. And so that's right as the car is rebounding and people will just spin flying off to the left or right.
Right.
So it's real important to try and utilize that compression to turn, point yourself down the hill. And you go flying down into 16. You have a long piece of gray curbing on the right-hand side of the track. And at the very end of it, we extended it with a bunch of green and yellow FIA, tiles, or green and yellow curbing. Right where that curbing ends is where I come from the very right-hand side of the track. I'm going to brake across the track up to the 16, apex curve, which is hog pen, the entrance to hog pen. This is probably my favorite section on the track because it's really, a lot going on at a very short period of time. You're going downhill, then you're going briefly uphill, then you're coming up to a curb. You're trying to release the brakes, go over a crest, and then transition the car from left to right, all without spinning it off to the left or the right of the track.
I wrecked there really bad. That's where I got my concussion and
Mm,
my brain started bleeding and crazy shit like that. So that has taken me a long time to get to where I can do it flat out
yeah,
again. But yeah, and basically you're setting up for that long straightaway. It's not as long as the back straightaway, but you
but it's
can get some.
it's usually equally very close to the same terminal speed because
Yeah,
the entrance onto that straightaway through 16, 17 is a lot faster than coming off Oak Tree, which is usually about 45 miles an hour. You're coming out of there with if you're doing a good job with a minimum speed through Hog Pen in the low 70s.
Right.
It's really what you're trying to
yeah.
aim for.
And if you're going into pit in, stay to the right as you come through
Yep.
16, 17.
Yep.
Put
Please
your
don't
hand up, let people know. Yeah, don't cut straight across because
Oh,
I've seen two cars in ChampCar go flying down into the pit lane before. I think Perry might have done that, or someone did that to Perry, I think, once.
yeah. I mean,
Which
it's
from
happened a few
Ronald's.
times. Yeah, because when you're working pit in, you see it. It's like, dude, what the hell did you just do?
Yep.
Yeah, you almost
Full
took out
track
5
left
cars.
across,
Yeah,
and then right in. Yeah. So
yeah,
you want to stay right, and then you're down in there. But
well, and
as you come through,
if you're doing 17 with a lot of cars around you, and
yeah,
you're planning to go into the pits, it's like you know you're supposed to be on the right, you know you're supposed to be slowing down, but you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to get my butt run over,
yeah,
So I get the idea of trying to go there a little bit
yeah.
late, but it's just not a good idea.
Yeah, when you come through 17, you really want to be staying to the right
Right.
as you come through. Like if you track out to the left and then come back to the right, you shouldn't really need to if you're doing it okay. You're just going to feather a little bit, tuck the
right.
car around on the right of the curb and make that straight line into the pit entrance.
Yeah.
And then please don't run any of our lovely volunteers and pit staff over as they
Yeah,
give you your timer.
yeah, that's bad. They don't like that. Yeah, we hear it on
No.
the radio. Yeah, and then you'll hear it at
Yeah,
pit
they
out.
went 3 wide into the pit entrance.
Yeah, they did.
Sideways into the pit entrance.
Well,
Sideways.
we've had wrecks there at coming
Yep.
out of 17, and cars are just scurrying everywhere. And
Right.
sometimes the safest way is just to go down pit lane. You still have to stop though. So yeah, you just can't use that as your emergency exit. So that's a lap of VIR. Now, of course, you throw all of that out when it rains, right? Is it
Yes.
a completely
I
different
would
track in the rain?
The trick becomes all those black sealant patches that are there just become
Avoid them.
icy. It's like 40% less traction as soon as you run one of those over. So if you go through turn one in the dry, you'll notice there's a big black sealant patch. You run that puppy over in the rain as you're trying to apply the throttle. You're coming out of one, it's just like a skating rink.
Yeah.
And you'll
So
find that
offline is basically the best place to be on most of the track in the wet.
there's some places where there is no option. Like if you're going into turn 14, the whole track is essentially sealed up at the top of 14. So you're just like on the brake, come off the brake, and pray, go around the corner, and then very progressively apply the throttle. But yeah, there's like Oak Tree. Oak Tree, for instance, there's plenty of sealant down there, but because that corner is so low speed and it's in a traction zone where people are trying to, half of the people out here have
Right.
Porsches and Corvettes where they're pounding and embedding rubber into the track. It feels like a start line on a drag strip up there. If you go do a track walk and
Right.
your feet will stick to the pavement just walking around up there. So when you go drive that in the rain, that is really exciting. So you have to be very
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh wait, let me track out over that curb there on the left. Now another tricky thing is all our really nice FIA tiles that you can use in some places on the track. They're slotted, they're slats, right? And they're on a
Yeah.
little angle. Every little angle there is a pool of water at the base of every
Yes.
next slat. So if
Yep.
you run that over in the rain, you're just drawing water up onto that tire, and you say, "Okay, let's go off to the right there."
And they're
And then,
painted, so that makes it
and then
worse.
yes, and they're
Yeah.
painted. And then the behind that curbing, our extra pavement there on the exit of 3 and the exit of 12, that's also painted. You run that puppy over in the rain, you're on for
Yeah.
another surprise. It just keeps going. So
Yeah. It's a great
that's
track.
But
That's what makes it fun.
yeah. Yeah, I've done quite a bit of driving at like 2 or 3 in the morning with that. I think it was like 2018 or 19. That crazy thunderstorm or
Oh yeah.
heavy rainstorm came in at like 2 in the morning.
Well,
That was a blast.
I've been getting my email together to Wittenauer to get one of those little orange flags that you put on the bicycles, the little mopeds and stuff, just to let people know that I'm in the car. That's why it's going so slow in the rain.
They'll know which one's you very quickly.
Yeah.
They won't need that. Bill, my favorite part of this discussion is every time you would ask Wyatt a question, he'd close his eyes.
Oh, I know. I noticed that.
And
yes.
he's looking at the track because he's done it so many times.
Yeah.
We hear people talk about that visualization and how you can sit and look at the track in your collar beforehand. And this is a case study right here.
Let me tell you about the paddock. All right. So the paddock.
There's Randy Copeland's favorite traffic circle on the way into the
paddock.
Yes,
I know. Don't get me started on that
paddock,
one.
And then being behind the tow truck. Yeah, I remember that one well, too.
I nearly got killed by a gator in that traffic circle last year.
Oh, jeez. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You were there last year for the first time.
Well, not for the first time, but for the first time in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And, one of those little, four-wheel drive, utility vehicles.
Yeah, this is America where no one knows how a traffic circle works. So you always got to be on your toes there.
Yeah. It was not pretty.
I love them in England. I mean, they were just.
I love traffic circles. Road furniture, as they call them in Europe. So
how hard can I apex this corner here in my 73 Ford Capri?
Nice.
Yeah, fun times.
All right.
So Wyatt, you're real quick because we're kind of running low on time here, but
we're way beyond time already.
Oh, I know. So the picture we show you're driving it's a picture I took last year.
Yep,
of you driving an LMP3. So you go from an E30 to an LMP3, man, that's got to be wicked awesome.
In terms of
just
driving
awesomeness.
experience.
Yes.
Yeah. See, the funny thing is, I think a lot of people think stuff like an LMP3 is a lot of fun, but when you drive those things, it's such an intense experience, and you have to focus so hard that you don't have time to have fun. When I go drive stuff like an E30, or I sometimes race a Porsche 912 from the 60s or something I'm having the most fun I ever have there because I can actually take time to enjoy myself. When you drive stuff like the LMP3, that's doing a low 1 minute and 40-second lap time,
right.
1 minute 41, 42, somewhere in that range. You're going up through the S's at 155, 160 miles an hour. Those corners, they sure do show up very quickly. It doesn't take but a half a tenth of a second's lapse of concentration to be throwing a $300,000 car off the track.
So my friends,
yeah, go ahead, Brian.
So my friends who say the LMP3 cars, they drive themselves, and
that is the biggest lie.
And any idiot could get in them and drive them fast are full of crap, right?
No, see, the problem with cars like that are the competition only tires that come on them. If you do not drive that car to a 1 minute and 44, 1 minute 45-second lap at the slowest, you will never get the tires to work,
right.
And you will be spinning off and having trouble and crashing the thing because you have to just go from 0 to I need to drive at least a low or mid 140 to actually light the tires off to have them working as they're in their intended temperature range.
How long did it take you to learn that? To actually learn to drive that kind of car?
I want to say probably about 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, but you held a lap record there at one point in some sort of little fancy little car with a motorcycle engine, right?
Yeah, I've held a few for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, you're fast there, so
yeah, that car is on the very unforgiving end of the spectrum. If you ever watch the race series, you'd see the pros and the amateurs just be throwing those kind of cars off the track all the time.
I mean, in the higher level prototype, whatever the top end one is at any given time, now it's the Le Mans, whatever they call it, is actually
hypercar
easier to drive because it's got a whole lot more downforce and it's got much bigger tires and it's more forgiving.
Things happen so much faster, though.
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. And you'd be surprised. A lot of those cars, see, stuff like that, when you get into that range, like an LMP3 is designed to be driving in a straight and narrow track. Any prototype or high downforce car is designed to be driving in a line. As soon as you get that thing a little bit sideways at 120, 30 miles an hour, all the airflow is not going in the direction that the
Right.
engineers in all their wisdom intended. So as soon as you get a little bit sideways, the rear diffuser is going to stall, the wing, the air over body is not going to work, and you're just going to spin off in whatever direction you were going, like you were driving a Prius. Is essentially what's going to happen. So
Fair
you
enough.
just go end up flying. So it's a very kind of harrowing experience because you either have grip or you don't.
Right.
There's no like once you cross over the 80, 90 mile an hour threshold, it's like it either works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
The sort of feel. You're not going to be like drifting through a turn at 120. That's not
Well,
going to happen.
And we've all seen the Top Gear guys trying to drive a Formula One car for the first time, and
Right.
you know, it's just so difficult. So
You have to be able to drive it very competently right out of the gate, or it just
Right.
won't work for you.
right.
Yeah.
So
All right.
Well,
so,
Wyatt,
before
I think,
Wyatt
we need
goes,
to. Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
just real quick, you mentioned a YouTube channel that I'm sure
Oh, yeah.
everybody would love to check out. So, where do we find that YouTube channel? We'll put it in the show notes too.
Yeah, I think my YouTube channel, I've got a couple of videos on there, or quite a few. It's just Wyatt Foster, or WY Foster if you search on YouTube. But if you search Wyatt Foster on there, I should
It
pop
comes
up
up.
if you
Cool.
see,
Cool.
And
see me
Kaizen,
sitting there.
if okay, I'm a really good driver
hmm
in my head, but I want to get some professional help
Coaching.
quietly without people knowing that I'm getting professional help.
You're talking
Who do I
about
contact?
racing help because there's some other
at
professional help
VIR,
you
'cause
need too.
I'm good everywhere else. I'm great everywhere else. But who do I contact at VIR?
Yeah, we have Kaizen Autosports. Is the company I work for primarily as well. I work for the track too, but for Kaizen Autosport, and you can go onto our website, which is kaizenautosport.com. And we have racing schools, we have car rentals, we have private coaching, we do track days, we do all basically cater to everything that you could want to do. Racing as well, we have quite a few guys that we support now doing races, so anything
And
you wanted to do.
you've got saloon cars with a sports car back there as well, just different
Yeah,
types of
there's
cars.
behind this is 350Z. Tommy Milner actually raced that in Hyperfest. He's going to come back, and Tommy Milner and I on September 17th, 18th, and 19th are going to run a race. He's a Corvette factory driver.
Right.
He's a friend of mine, and we're gonna run a racing school on the 17th, 18th, and 19th. So if anyone wants to come meet Tommy and learn from him and me, we're going to be running one in mid-September. Right behind that, which you can't see from that camera angle unless I stood up and took the camera, but there's our Audi R8 GT4 LMS, and then I think that's a GP1 WRL Cayman, and then the SR3s over there in the corner. And that's just 4 of like the 30 something that we got.
And the SR3, that's the one I was talking about. That's a little
Right.
The Radical.
the-
Right.
That's just
Radical. That's
a little Radical tube
Yep.
frame, prototype with a Suzuki Hayabusa engine in it.
Are those fun to drive?
Those are the most friendly way into a prototype. That's where I would start 99% of people off in, because it's got some aero, but it's not ridiculous to the point that it just either works or it wants to kill you.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a good blend.
Nice.
Definitely not slow. You're going to be doing a low 150 around VIR in that thing.
Yeah, I saw
if you're up to it.
Hayabusa powered tuk-tuk the other night on YouTube.
Yeah,
That was
doing
pretty wicked.
wheelies. Everywhere, probably. Yeah.
Driving down the motorway. It was pretty funny.
That's awesome.
All right, Wyatt. And you're
you.
off to go racing in LMP3. You won't be at VIR 24?
I could be. I can't. Yeah, Coda's coming up. I'm doing a test day one weekend. I think I might be around for the 24th, so maybe I'll come hang out.
Come on up. Yeah, come up to the tower there, and we'll be doing the show. So come on up.
Yeah, someone can confuse me for, was it Neil deGrasse Tyson or someone when I did the South course? Someone's like, "That's Neil deGrasse Tyson commentating," or something. I can't remember who it was. That was so funny.
I do remember.
Made me laugh. I can't remember who that was, but yeah. Maybe I'll go up there, or if anyone wants me to drive something, call me.
There you go.
Text me on Facebook.
He's got a helmet and a driver's suit, and he knows how to use it.
Can travel.
Nice.
And he might go by Mike Skeen.
If I grow another 3 inches taller, I can pull that off.
All right. Wyatt Foster,
right,
thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break here. When we come back, Bill and I are gonna take us to the promised land here. I'm sure we'll find something to talk about. Stay with us.
Oh yeah, we have a bunch.
ChampCar is an endurance road racing grassroots motorsports series. The idea of ChampCar is you can get a bunch of buddies together and on a budget go to these premier racetracks all over the United States and up into Canada and get maximum track time.
Josh here, Wasting Money Racing. The things that really draw us to ChampCar that we love is that the series is a little bit more serious than the other entry-level endurance racing series. And the series as a whole is like a big family, and everybody is always willing to help each other in any dire situation that you may have.
The rulebook is intentionally kept small to make it simple for everybody to go racing, and yet control costs for the competitors. For sure, one of the most exciting things for me with ChampCar was that I get to race on all these amazing racetracks, and it's super easy. No licensing, no special qualifications. All you need is your driver's license, your gear, your membership. Rent yourself some seat time, and you can go racing this weekend.
I enjoy racing with ChampCar because I think they provide the closest competition in all the amateur endurance series, and because they race at bucket list tracks.
Hi, this is Rick Brazar from Savannah, Georgia, RPM Auto Works Racing and Apex Predators Racing Team. What I like about ChampCar Endurance Series is the opportunity it gives an old guy like myself to get back into some competitive door-to-door racing with a modest budget. You can put together a really nice car for not a lot of money, and it's a lot of fun to go out there and mix it up with some top-notch drivers. I enjoy the camaraderie, I enjoy the friendship, and I enjoy the program that ChampCar Endurance Series has put together.
Welcome back to Inside ChampCar. Bill Strong, Brian Bielanski. Woo-hoo. What a great conversation. He's got the goods, man.
Yeah, he's
fast.
He's always fun. Oh, massively fast on track. You know, I used to keep up with him just to see where
you did.
How to take that one corner I could stay with him in.
Exactly, because by the second quarter he was gone.
No, until the end of that corner.
Right.
No, good kid. He's like I said, his dad really helped us out a lot in the early days of ChampCar Live. Love to hear the little ways, because I actually learned a couple of things there. I didn't know there was a couple of corners I've always had issues with. Now, of course, the main one I told you about, and there's others. Hey, guess where we're headed to here? Actually, I'm headed out Thursday. Jimmy's already left.
Well, if you look at the bottom of our screen.
Yeah, we are headed to Deer Trail, Colorado, High Plains Raceway.
Nice.
So we've got 26 or 27. They're not fully signed up yet, but they will be there.
Okay.
We VIR. A week later, we fly back, get back on Monday, and Chelsea and I head out, and Dana's going to meet us all there, and the rest of the staff. And we're going to put on a 24-hour race. This is, I think, our 11th or 12th version of this. I think it might be 12th.
Yeah.
And we've got 77 cars. That's the most we've had in a long time.
Nice. Good
job. And supposedly there's a few more that are just getting their cars ready, and if they make it, they'll be there.
Cool.
Gingerman, we're down to, I think, up to 28 cars on that one. A few signed up today. Thompson Speedway, 32 cars. We got a new sponsor for that race. That's MBM Performance will be sponsoring that race with us. We got T-shirts on order, the whole bit. Yeah. And we head off to Lexington, Ohio for Mid-Ohio. So we're pretty much on the road for quite a while, probably every week there. Then we head down to Harris Hill, Texas, and that's a 45-car limit on that. We're up to 23, and it filled up quick this past weekend. So that will hit normally 45 cars. And if you've never been to Harris Hill, I seriously suggest it. That is such a fun track. Then we head back to Pittsburgh International Raceway, 33 cars, and then Road America. So that, I believe Road America's today is the cutoff for Pittsburgh for the early pay too, by the way. Save $200 at midnight. It goes away.
Nice.
So midnight Eastern time.
Great.
So if you're going to Pittsburgh, sign up now, get out there. And then I head out to Phoenix for about a week right after Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Go visit my new grandkid that may, breaking news, maybe tonight.
Oh,
Don't know.
cool.
But
Very
yeah,
cool.
number 6. So going to go out and see. My wife and I got our reservations all ready for that one. So,
Nice.
and I don't know if you noticed on Facebook, I've been like watching all these police chase videos.
Yes, I
we have
have.
a buddy out. Yeah, we got a buddy out there in Phoenix that's a state trooper, and he's offered me a ride along, which would be
Nice.
kind of cool. Yeah. So, but yeah, all right. So we've run late on this. Sorry, guys, but we had a lot of information to pack in there. We got more info coming out here as we get closer to the 24 from Dana. We'll be posting that up as well on the forums, on Facebook, the whole bit. Yeah, lots of stuff coming up, and let's have some fun. Let's go racing. Be safe out there, guys.
That's right. Let's real quick. John Whitnauer, Fritzy Garage, Fred Wolf, of course, Timothy Elliott. Let's see. I got a couple of more here. Maisie Topola.
A recent endurance series visited VIR, and some fire bottles went missing from VIR. If you know where those fire bottles are, you accidentally took them or whatever, hey, we'll take them back for you. Do whatever. No questions asked. But let's not take stuff from tracks. It could have been an accident. So
yeah, maybe someone got him mixed up.
Or just contact the track.
Yep.
Yeah, just contact the track. Stuff happens. So
all right.
But those things are very important. Very expensive too.
Yes, they are. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Inside Champ Car. Did you like what you hear? Subscribe to the podcast or the YouTube channel so you won't miss any episodes. Also, be great if you share it on your social media channels. Comment on the Champ Car Facebook page. New episodes every week. He's Bill Strong. I'm Brian Bielanski. This is the Champ Car Live YouTube channel and the Racing Wire Podcast Network. We will see you next week doing it all again.